I think that we're doing a little bit of both, and we're able to grow without growing headcount because we're becoming more efficient in those areas. And the processes that we're learning through the available AI softwares and things like that has been very good for us. The information that we're getting, we would typically hire a third-party company to do some research for us, yet we can do the research ourselves because the information is so readily available. It's been good for our business, and I see it as we learn it better, not just the chat GPT side of it, but all the other AI items that are available on the software side of the business, that our back room will become more efficient. And as it becomes more efficient, we're looking to grow. We're not looking to cut people. We're looking to grow with the same people we have.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Biblical Money. I'm your host, Rabbi Rami Goldberg. I am here with a friend of a friend, a friend of a former guest on this program, Mr. Jim Fight introduced Mr. Stephen Little, who is at the Kost company. And we're going to hear all about roofing and the biblical significance of that. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Robbie, thank you for having me. Yes, Kost Roofing and Waterproofing. We do commercial roofing and we also do residential roofing.
So it's I was thinking about it before, kind of as knowing that this interview was coming up. I feel like there's something so biblical and godlike about that, about like putting a roof over somebody's head. Is that something that you've, I'm going to say, ever kind of connected with, as far as like, oh wow, I'm doing something that's like, think about the clouds of glory in the desert or things like that. That God's presence is really in the roof over us.
We think more like food, water, and shelter, and we have this responsibility to provide shelter to the world. And we just happen to be in the Texas, state of Texas in the United States, and we do a lot of roofing.
Yes, so that's. It's critical. I mean, there you probably have Hurricane Alley going through there, that people's roofs get ripped right off.
We get a lot of tornadoes. We get a lot of wind. We don't have a lot of trees in Texas, so you have a lot of sun. And we get hail, big old balls of hail that come flying down and do lots of damage to homes and businesses, unfortunately. But being in the roofing business, it's fortunate for us.
That you have that. Okay, so let's take a step back. I'd love to hear how you got into roofing, and where did it start from, and was this, I can't imagine, not too many kids were sitting around their kindergarten class saying, I think I want to be a roofer when I get older. So how'd you get into this? Give us a little bit about your journey.
It's funny how you say that, because we've talked about with our employees, and they start to have kids, so they're gonna run to the crib in the baby ward and say, "Oh, here's the next roofer." That doesn't really happen that way. But I got into roofing, ironically, through our daughter. A friend of hers that she was on a cheerleading squad with. They became very friendly. Their parents were in the roofing business, and I was in the sports license product business at the time, and we became friends. And I'm a businessman, and he had some need for some help for some things with he and his partners, and I helped him out. And the next thing you know, I went from the sports license product business to the commercial roofing business. This was back in 2000. Oh, I guess it was right near 2000. Yeah, December of 2000.
Oh wow. Okay, so 25. So 25 years now in the roofing business.
Officially 25 years this month. Yes.
Okay, as we are sitting here on New Year's Eve, so we're about to head into a new year, but that's amazing. So how would you say your faith interacts with the business? To what extent do you bring your faith to work? Do you leave it at home? Is it something you leave in church on Sunday? Where does that interplay come in?
Well, we're very public about being a blessed company, and very public about giving back to our society and to each other, which are some of the principles that we've all learned in our religious faith. So we don't jump out and scream our faith at work, but we practice it, and we are public about it in all of our public events that we have with our employees and with our clients. That we are a blessed company, and we know that we wouldn't be where we are today without the blessings of God. So that's something that we do publicize, and that's something that we practice.
Okay. And is it something, I mean, obviously America's separation of church and state, is that something you've found that has been a challenge for you guys?
No, not at all. We've found that it's very readily accepted. We happen to be located in the great state of Texas, which is a very strong Christian faith state in the United States. Um, Thousands of churches everywhere, and it is very well accepted. I think to answer your question.
Yeah, and do you find, I guess, and when you have people from other faiths, I'm guessing that there's been a couple of other people I know that I've seen their new neighbors moving into certain areas of Texas, and weaving their way through. But do you find that's something that um, impacts, how, I guess, the nature of the conversation, meaning it's what happens around the water cooler.
Well, we found it to be very accepting. We practice it. We practice what we preach, and the it's just very well accepted. We haven't had any objections from our clients. We haven't had somebody say, "Well, you're open about your Christianity, so we don't want to do business with you." We find out that a lot of the basics of Christianity is based on treating people how you want to be treated, respect, open communication, doing what you say you're going to do. It's team before self. It's think of others first, give first, and receive second. And these are a lot of the principles that we run our business from.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly the way that we always want to treat others. The question is, is it always reciprocated, or there's a lot of secularism that has made its way into every aspect
Mhm.
of American life, and so to what extent do you find you're kind of fighting that head on versus okay, live and let live.
We find our style to be very well received in the market. We People do business with people. And I think at the end of the day, we're in the construction business, and that's a hard business to be in to begin with, because no matter what happens, there are outside influences that happen, that the projects don't always go perfect. And yet there was an expectation that was in place. And so if you treat others like you want to be treated, and you're just totally wide open in your conversation, and you follow those principles, we find we do very well with it. We have very little resistance.
You mentioned AI, and I'm so curious. I mean, what do you see in AI, and also, I guess, construction technology that are coming down? Are we going to be getting rid of roofers anytime soon?
Well, it's funny you say that. That's a great question, because I think we have two questions here. AI is one thing, and then we have technology as the other. So I'll tackle the AI part first, and then I'll talk a little bit about what's the technology that's in construction today. On the AI side of the business, we've been doing AI for a while in reference to phone trees and answering the phone and qualifying customers when they call in on the residential side of the business. It's pretty sophisticated how voice recognition that and how it can answer questions for a client. It put them through a series of 3 or 4 questions, get information from them, schedule a time for somebody to call them back to get more detail, to set an appointment to come see their home, and things like that. We use AI a lot in that side of the business. We also look at AI for some research, some great research that you can do in that. It's accumulated all of the answers in the world, and you can go right into this question and answering process, and it feeds you data, and then you have to manage the data from that side of the business, and that's what we see so far on the AI side. Great for statistics, great for data, great for taking over some of the administrative type duties that might be in place.
Right. I
Um,
mean, but uh, are you finding that it's affecting the number of employees that you're having, or like anything along that line, or it's like more people could do more with less, or no, you're just the business, instead of growing headcount, you're growing efficiencies.
I think that we're doing a little bit of both. We're able to grow without growing headcount, because we're becoming more efficient in those areas. And the processes that we're learning through the available AI softwares and things like that have been very good for us. The information that we're getting, we would typically hire a third-party company to do some research for us, yet we can do the research ourselves because the information is so readily available. And so it's been good for our business. And I see it as we learn it better, not just the Chat GPT side of it, but all the other AI items that are available on the software side of the business, that our back room will become more efficient. And as it becomes more efficient, we're looking to grow. We're not looking to cut people. We're looking to grow with the same people we have. So I think it will help reduce the headcount we need in the future as we grow in the volume side of the business. That's a whole nother kettle of fish to work with. So we use technology now. We have robotics. I'm putting down rolls of material to where before we would have 10 people with a tool called a dragon wagon that has 7 torches on the back of it with 2 wheels and a handle, and you pull it along with the membrane that you have, and it warms up the membrane, and that adheres to the surface that you're putting it on. That takes 10 people to do. We can do 3 times the volume with half the people using a robotic machine that looks like a floor cleaner. You might see them in the stores. It's like a rectangle box. It's got wheels on the back. This runs on a laser that runs on the very edge of the last piece of material that you put down. It's fueled by propane, which is the same fuel we use in the Dragon Wagon with 10 humans. But in this case, it's 30% less because it's all regulated, running on a propulsion system that follows a laser guideline to put the membrane down on its own. You also don't have to relax the membrane. So typically what would happen is that you would have rolls of membrane that you would unroll, and then you would lay them down, turn them upside down. You would heat the material and then flip it back over and roll it on top of the roof system. This stays in the roll and unrolls itself through a propulsion system that's run through a computerized laser guided platform, and you use 30% less of the propane. So we're already using some of those robotics on the roof today in the commercial side of the business. You used to put metals together with hand clamping the metal along the standing seam line. Now we use lysters that put the metal together. We used to have to mop down adhesives. Now we spray them with automated sprayers. So there's these type of things that are transpiring that are reducing the need for additional humans, but you can do more volumes in more buildings. So you're doing more with less.
Do you think we're going to get to a point in the near future with, I was watching something about these AI printed homes, and, really, start to finish, you're able to build a home in 3 days. Do you think that that's a realistic, kind of within the home building? I mean, I guess it's adjacent to what you're doing, not exactly, but
So I see a lot of modular happening now, where they're building items, walls off site that have all the electrical and plumbing in them. And then they just throw the wall up and they connect the tubes, they connect the plumbing, they connect the electrical. We see it in the commercial side of the business. We watched a hospital recently go up that was all, steel was put in, and then the modules slid into the floors. And then they connected everything together instead of running all those lines for plumbing and electrical and those type of things as the building was being built. It was just like a plug and play as they went along. We've learned a lot of this out of Europe. Europe started the modular construction business probably 5 to 8 years before the United States did, and now we're taking from the Europeans. Much like roofing happened first over in the Western, or the European world and the Eastern world, long before the United States was even around, before America was even a country. And so we see a lot of the construction technologies and advancements happen in Europe before it comes to the States. I saw, well, you were talking about robotics, and I saw at the last trade show robotics where they actually had a robot installing shingles, and a robot installing bricks, and a robot putting up drywall. And because it was all it was all just step and repeat work, and that's what a lot of the construction is. That they're just working in a specific square footages that they're working from, and they're picking up something here and putting it there and attaching it to the wall or attaching it to the floor, and it's done with robotics. So your original question was, do I see that in the near future? I don't see it in the near future. Do I see it in the next 10 years? Yes. Do I see it in my lifetime? Absolutely. I don't see it in my career lifetime, but I do see it in our lifetime.
Right. I mean, so I guess some of this, you take a look at the Garden of Eden. God puts Adam in. It says "Avdo l'shamro," that he should be there to work and to protect the land. So part of our, kind of God's mission to humans is to go ahead and to work in this world. He was actually, people don't always realize this. They think that the punishment was that Adam was working, and it's like, no. God gave us work before he was
Yes.
punished, and the punishment was a certain difficulty, which, whether or not we fully understand that, I'm not sure. But what's going to be? Meaning, you have all these different people who have all different. It was always like, okay, at least I'll go ahead and I'll do something that's a manual labor, even if I can't get a job in something else. But these manual labor jobs are being taken over. I mean, I guess so are some of the higher level jobs of lawyers and things like that. But what do you see as kind of man's next frontier, as far as like, what are people going to do? As as you said, I can now roof. I can lay a new roof for with 3 people instead of 10 or 15.
So I don't see the work going away. I see us becoming more efficient. And we're working smarter, not harder, which gives us the opportunity to be able to do other things. Um, so there is never been a shortage like we have today of manpower. We have a tremendous shortage of manpower in the construction world, in the hospitality world, in the agriculture world. In these areas that we have these needs, we have the shortages that are transpiring. So we either have to, at least in the United States position, we have to replace we have to fill in that work, not replace people, but fill in that work with either immigrants or technology. It has to happen either way. And our political mindset that we currently have in the States is not welcoming immigrants into our country. It's that we are like in this protectionism that is very hard to understand why we would be that way, because we are a country of immigrants. That's how we were born. That's how we created the United States. So I don't see us. Um, we have a shortage. So we have to figure out a way to fill that shortage. And I feel with technology, we're just working smarter. I also am a belief that the Earth is not the only place that Earthlings are going to explore or to um, expand, whether it be our moons or the other planets. We're explorers, and so as we continue to conquer different parts of the world, we're looking to conquer different part of the universe. So that just I think the work is changing. I don't think the work is going away.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. I know. I'm sure they were having similar, discussions at similar podcasts when the Model T was coming out and replacing horses. So these are, we can go back and check Henry Ford's podcasts back in those days. But so. I guess on the human element, you're obviously employees. What are some ways, I think, just that your faith, that have you helped younger people as far as building up younger people as far as their faith within your business, is kind of one question, and then I have another question as far as what you've done, if you've ever had to fire people and what that's been like. But we'll come to that after. But have you
Okay.
helped young people? Do you find that you're mentoring both within faith and within work? Within the business.
I would say that we are recognizing that we need to provide platform for people to be able to express their faith. So there's a Bible study group that meets in the morning a few days a week that is an open time for people to come in and explore faith, explore beliefs, learn why other people believe in what they believe in, where others may not at this point, as one area. But we also believe that we have an obligation to mentor people on being respectful to other humans, and so we spend time um, with our core values, and we spend time in nurturing. Um, uh, Treat others as you want to be treated. Um, it takes all of us. You're not an individual. We're sensitive to the challenges that people have and the influences that people have. So we try to give them a safe workspace and a safe area, along with an open help that they may need, whether it be mental health issues or medical issues and things like that. Um, we've created a charity inside our company called K-Post Charities. Our CFO, Jane Williams, who, by the way, went back to school and got her doctorate in religion just recently. And she graduated from Dallas Baptist University, which is the one of the strongest Christian universities in the Southwest. And she very much is the leader in our company to um, treat people how you want to be treated and provide opportunity for everybody. So in our charity, we provide scholarships for folks. We provide money for folks that need it. We provide help, not only in a monetary standpoint, but finding them help and offsetting the cost of that and finding their help. And then participating with various other charity organizations that are in our city to help out with that. So I think I went a little deeper in the charity side than maybe what your question was, but we feel that part of religion is providing a safe space, providing opportunity, providing tools for people to be able to explore, and we do that.
Yeah. And do you feel, in terms of younger people, you mentioned kind of mental health and safe spaces, and you don't mean safe spaces in the way that it's been kind of abused within some of these woke universities, but you just
Right?
mean
No.
mean that. But do you feel like you've seen a change as far as younger people? I'm a number of years younger than you, and I'm sure you have employees who are significantly younger than I am. But do you feel like you've seen a change in terms of the nature and the care and the coddling that I know that I've heard different people speak about? Do you feel like there's been a change?
Yes, I do believe there's been a change. I think a couple things here. First of all, we attract a lot of people because our employees recruit people. So if they feel it's a good place to be, then that's the a leading indicator that you're doing something right along those lines. Second of all, they spend the most amount of single time with us than they do with their own families. So providing them a safe space is an area for them to be able to have people, have leadership, have access to speak with somebody, to interact with people, to help them navigate, to grow up. Uh, I remember as a kid, my stepmother met me at the door after our senior trip and said, "You've got 2 weeks." I was the youngest. And she says, "You got 2 weeks. You're the last of your father's kids, and your father and I are now going to raise our son. And so go forth and be successful." And people today are going to college. They're either going to college or going to trades. We see a lot of trades in our operational side of our business, but in our administration side of our business, we see a lot of college grads, and they go to college and they come to us, and they really don't know anything about life. They're two working parents that maybe the family unit is not as strong, and they go off to college and they learn life from their college buddies, and then they come into our business, and it's like, whoa, we've got to help them understand life a little better and understand the path, the journey that they're on. And many times they think it's a race and it's really a marathon. And today with the phones and everything else that's around, I mean, they think that this is the answer to everything, and it's not the answer to everything. It's just a data resource for you. So we try to provide a platform that gives them that mentorship, but also gives them the opportunity to be able to interact with others and the resources necessary.
Yeah, and it is really interesting just to see kind of the next generation and to what extent they're able to go out on their own. You know I and I think that is one of the challenges. And have you had people that you weren't able to transition, meaning you weren't able to help? And how did that go in terms of having to fire somebody, coach someone up, coach someone out? what are, maybe you have a story or two about somebody. I'm sure you have many stories, but we have to ask HR if you can share them. But
I
something.
probably can't share names. I can share ideas.
Good.
We
No,
have
for sure.
three
No, no,
companies, and within three companies, there's over 550 employees, with 50 in one company, 50 in another company, and then the 400, almost 40 something employees in the commercial roofing company. And across the board, whether it be your white collar or your blue collar, whether it be your senior folks or it be your junior folks just coming in into to work, uh, tons of stories. I think that probably the hardest thing we do is hire and terminate, because when you make a decision to hire, you have all the information to work from. You have the references or not references if they're just coming out of school, and you are wanting to make sure that they're going to fit into your culture the most. I think we can hire trade, we can hire people with certain skills, but that chemistry is the hardest thing that we do as an employer. Um, we recently had a person that had been with us over 8 years. They were fairly competent in their productivity, but they started with some really strong political views and started posting those political views not only on social media they were tied to us, but also in their office. Stuff they would put on their whiteboards, stuff that they would post on their walls, and we had to exit them out of the business. And it was a very tough thing to do because it was really a good person. In fact, their son had had some legal problems, and my partner Keith and I and Jane, we had helped them execute out of that problem that they had, both legally as well as with their principal in school. And we stood up for the parents. And then 2 years later, we had to let the father go. Very, very tough situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think unfortunately the political climate, not just America, I think across the world has become much more polarized and divisive. So it becomes difficult. Okay, where do you draw that line? And I know there's a lot of discussion. Okay, and we get this on the anti-Israel versus anti-Zionism versus I don't hate Jews, but I love this, and then but I still support jihadists. Like it becomes a really big mess. Where do you draw that line that to say, okay, this is not acceptable here?
And we all have our faith, though. Our faith tells us to do unto others. And our political world has turned into us versus them. And there's a real breakdown there. And if you haven't built a strong core competency in your family or a strong core competency in your business, it can be very decisive, and it can crumble both. Um, so I think that as employers, we have to follow a core value and establish that right up front, that in our particular case we're a blessed company and we're going to be a team before ourselves, and we're going to give back and care for others, and that's going to be the premise of how we do business, and the rest of it is just the business, the transaction portion of it, and always have high integrity to do the right thing when somebody's not looking. Back to that, you and I had a discussion a while back about does it pass the litmus test? If you can share it with your mom, can it pass that litmus test to be able to do business? And I grew up that way, and we have instituted that type of uh, culture in our company. Can you sit in front of Keith or Steve or Jane, and this be something that they also believe in? Then you know that you're following their faith in the way that the culture that they've installed.
Yeah, it is really interesting. There was actually an article that came out. It had to do with the certain shifts within the Jewish world, but we used to have more of a mimetic tradition, which was like something you learned in your home, to a text-based tradition. And someone kind of pointed out some sociological changes that had been undergoing. And I kind of feel like this is like a broader trend that we're seeing, that used to be people would work with their fathers, they would grow up, they would really get those values in the home well before, and they were well established by the time they went out into the outside world. And I feel like today, we were also mentioning this before, that people are running out to that outside world that before they've really established, not that they're running, but they're just being bombarded with it. And so
Right.
they haven't learned in the home what they need to learn. And now they're coming into work, and you're, kind of have to teach them everything all together, all at once. And so becomes this, you have to be their father and their boss and their colleague all at the
Very
same time.
much. We find ourselves being very parental in our management style, and it can also be that way as become more established. Our field, over 50% of our field has been with us 10 years, and I would say probably over 60%, 65% of our uh, white collar employees have been with us over 10 years. And so when you have that family unit that's in place and you're protecting the brand as you go along because you were here in the beginning, quote unquote, you were here at least 10 years. And so you feel like you're part of what was established. You feel an obligation. We see them feeling an obligation to keep that culture going. And so that you see them mentoring others that they work with as well. Um, I mean, when we were kids, our parents always had us at catechism. They had us in after school programs. We did Sunday school, and you don't see a lot of that today. That the kids are involved in sports, or they're into their phones, or into games and that stuff, and so they're influenced differently than maybe they were influenced as they were growing up. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying it's different. So as an employer, the type of person you would get that would be coming out of a household or coming out of a college scenario today compared to what we got 20 years ago, completely different.
Yeah, and it's interesting also in terms of faith wise, to what extent is their faith similar to the way that maybe we practiced or our parents practiced versus a new way. Either people have left their faith, which but I think there is a little bit of a resurgence in the United States, and people are coming back, but does it look the same? And in all likelihood, it doesn't look quite the same. I mean, you had a transition going from being Catholic to how, I don't even know how you would call it, Methodist. So that becomes, you're certainly practicing different than you grew up with. But I don't know to what extent that has been a change within the younger folks as well.
Well, I'll tell you something that's ironic. Uh, Today, in fact, it was just published 2 weeks ago as a breakdown of the construction business in the United States. The two fastest growing sectors are data centers and churches.
Okay.
Healthcare, schools, municipality, industrial, theme park are all negative growth areas. And churches is number two. And it's
Okay.
double digits growth over 2024.
Wow.
I mean,
Is that
there's
in
an aha
Texas or
moment.
that's national?
National. This is put out by
Okay.
Associated Building and Contractors, uh, which is AGC, which is Associated General Contractors, and ABC, which is Associated Building Contractors, and that's who it was put out by. Ironically, I've asked. I teach a class inside K-Post University that is "What's Your Why" by Simon Sinek, and in
Okay.
talking to, we had our first class last month, and in talking to the group, I had them raise their hands of how many people are practicing religion today, and 80% of the rooms raised their hand. These are
Oh, wow.
all kids from 26 to 38. I was
Okay.
shocked. I will tell you, I demonstrated, I was aghast. I had this look on my face, and I had people ask me, "Oh, Steve, were you surprised by this?" I said, "Actually, yes, I was surprised at it because I don't see that among my peers. I see my peers less involved in religion. And I wouldn't have
Interesting.
expected to have 80% of these 25 to 38-year-olds were participating in religion." And then that was last month. And last week, I got the report on the building in the United States, and churches was number two. There's only two sectors that were growing, and churches were number two.
Wow. That is fascinating, and it's fascinating to see what that growth what that growth looks like. Meaning, certainly we want faith. We don't share the same faith, but we want faith. We want people to come to God, and that is certainly certainly positive. We have seen some people. I mean, some of the I don't follow too closely, but some of these different influencers kind of misrepresent certain aspects of religion, which is pretty crazy that you can kind of say whatever you want in the name of whoever you want based on no authority and no knowledge whatsoever. But I think that hopefully people are coming to a normal form of religion and not something that's been cooked up by someone trying for clicks.
Well, you've got a Charlie Kirk phenomenon that happened here, and with him being shot, it kind of like it. There was this very large following that has gotten larger, and then you have some the TikTok influencers and YouTube influencers and things like that that were already practicing their faith along with the other influencing that they were doing. And so I haven't researched this, but my gut tells me that more people on screen watching people that have a faith-based platform, or at least are demonstrating publicly their faith, is gaining popularity from that.
You just hope that it's a healthy kind, because what serious religious encounter can be encapsulated in a 60-second Instagram post. That's
Right.
that becomes oh wow. I mean, and maybe, I mean, there definitely are. I think there are some very good people that are out there, but we're you want to make sure that balance, because a faithful encounter is not oh wow, I was scrolling on my phone, all of a sudden it's like this guy spoke to me. It's a lot of times you're outside and it's like, wow, you feel God, or different things happen in life and your eyes are open. I think is a different approach than someone giving you a 30-second or 60-second soundbite.
What are you seeing in business and how religion is demonstrated? You asked me about the influence of business here. What about with you, and what do you see in Israel?
So Israel is interesting in the fact that since the late 70s, when Menachem Begin became the prime minister, Israel has, for the most part, had a predominantly right-wing government, and the faith of the people are moving more towards the right. Meaning that's just what's happening. Meaning there are a couple of very powerful people on the left, but their influence and their impact is waning. If you take a look at the kindergartens, 50% of all kids in kindergarten are coming from religious homes. So that is a faith trend that you'll see. Israel's a very religious country. Not everyone practices all the same. We definitely have a lot of diversity, but Shabbat observance is moving up. I had a family member, my wife's cousin, had two of the kids were in Kfar Aza, which was one of the worst hit kibbutzim on October 7th, where the two husbands literally with their bodies held the sealed room shut for 14 hours. I mean, it was something, and saved them. It was a really unbelievable story. And one of the families that was there said, if we get out of here alive, we're going to be keeping Shabbat. And they didn't come from religious families. So you definitely have that. I think one thing that we have over here that I think America could benefit very much from is national service, and whether that means going to the military or
Yes.
just some sort of civic responsibility post high school for 6 months or a year, I think would do wonders in America. And so people have that. We're also living in a situation where you are forced to confront life in a way that you are not forced in America. Meaning, as an American and having cousins and family, in America, things are good, thank God. And you don't have enemies. Here you have enemies on the border, so you're forced to think about things. You're forced to say, wait a sec, why are they shooting rockets at us? What does this mean? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my faith? What does it mean for God? What does it mean for the world? So I do think that there's a lot of those conversations that are happening. And I'll end with one other story, and we'll turn back over to you because this is an interview for you, even though. But I joined the Army a couple of weeks ago, and I was down on the base. I'll actually be going in again on Sunday to learn, to take a course. But I'm on this base, and there are 10,000 young people. It's exciting. There's an energy. They're together. Whether they like it or not, they're forced to be part of this army. And whether they want to, they prefer to be on their phones on TikTok, I don't know. But right here, they're forced to be with a mission. They're forced. So there is a little bit of that forced interaction, which in America I think is a little bit less, as far as people. So
Well,
I'm
there's a
definitely
common
excited.
denominator, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Common denominator among them all, that they all, no matter where they come from, they have one thing that they're all required to do, and they're all given a chance to participate. I think it would be great for America. You see it happen in the German society. You see it happen in other societies that there's an obligation of service back to your country.
yeah. I think you just have this sense of something much bigger than yourself, and I think you're trying to do that in a small way in your company. You have 550 people, and so okay, you're part of something bigger. But that sense of individualist, I as an individual have to become the next Elon Musk. It's like, no, you have to be part of the collective. I think there's something very valuable, not communist collective, but collective. Okay, how am I going to
Right.
be part of the community and giving back? So, but yeah, it's
Well, thank
definitely.
you for that, because I wanted to know. I wouldn't have known if I didn't ask you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, and I think that is something where if we could find a way to get more young people involved in civic responsibilities, I think we would. I think that both America. I think America needs this because the world needs America, and if America is going to develop future leaders, if America is going to be, maintain its spot as the world's police, the world, the world's eyes and ears, we need young people to be doing great things.
I agree. We also need Americans to take care of the infrastructure of America, so that the things that we're building, that we're not trying to fix the rest of the world, but we're also supporting ourselves. And we could get into a very big conversation about that, but that's not what this podcast is about.
Maybe we'll save that say that for after this conversation. But anyway, to be continued. So Steve, thank you so much. This is definitely a very engaging conversation, and God should bless all of your efforts within the business and continue to build and to grow and to do your very holy work in shepherding all of these people to do good things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got great partners and we have good leaders. And collectively, we feel like we're giving back.
Amazing. Thank you.